In a remote cluster of islands off the coast of Australia, great white sharks are gathering.
Off the left, 10 o'clock.
Hungry males, supergiants, massive pregnant females.
Coming in on the left. He's about 2 meters away. Got it, man.
A team of researchers is uncovering new insights into great white behavior.
Yeah, pull. Oh! This one's a brand new female that turned up last trip. She was all over our cage.
They're led by one shark expert
3.7 meters.
that barely survived a brutal shark attack.
They eat things as big as us every day. Why shouldn't they come and bite us?
They're proving that these lone hunters may be banding together into killer families known as shark clans. "17 miles off the coast of South Australia, the Neptune Islands. They are rocky and uninhabited.
This is actually the best restaurant for great whites in the Southern Hemisphere.
Hundreds of sharks gather here every year for a very good reason.
In this little bay, which is protected, you'll get thousands of baby sea lions, all born in January and February each year. And right now, they're at their plump, fattest best. And great white sharks know all about this, and they come around for these next several months. And this is where we see the super giants, the big females, come in here to fatten up before they do these incredible journeys around Australia.
Rodney Fox is on a research mission with his marine biologist son Andrew, a leading authority on the great white shark. They want to find out if sharks really are lone hunters, or if they travel in stable groups of shark alliances called clans.
We come down here to the Neptune so often, particularly at this time of the year, you can expect sharks immediately.
Yeah, he's straight out, clear down deep again.
To understand shark relationships, the first step is to identify individuals.
Pull it in a meter. Oh, got it. Perfect. There's another one behind us.
They use bait to position the sharks for the pictures.
Nice size. You got a good call. Look at him up there. 3.7 meters.
Each photograph adds to the Fox's catalog of over 1,000 individual great white sharks.
Coming here, we're coming in straight ahead. 12 o'clock.
Craig's going to use this big heavy bait to bring the sharks in close.
There are no hooks in the bait. The crew has to be quick.
Okay, he's turned on it. He's on it.
Too slow and they lose the bait. They don't want the sharks to get a free lunch.
Here he's coming. Pull. Yeah, pull it down.
Do it right, and the sharks come in for their close-up. The pictures document when each shark arrives.
Did you get him?
I did. Hopefully that'll be clear enough to see what shark that is.
Some are really bumbling around quiet and slow. Some are fast and furious. Some are very shy and stay well back. But they're just like humans, all different shapes, sizes, and personalities.
But whatever their personality, Rodney knows firsthand they can be terrifying. His first encounter with a great white was so horrific, it was the subject of one of the first shark movies ever made. South Australia, a spearfishing competition. Rodney, a newly married insurance salesman from Adelaide, defends his state championship title. Engrossed in his hunt, he doesn't see the great white shark hunting him. The shark hits him like a truck.
You wouldn't want to stand in front of a bulldozer when it's heading towards you, would you? And it's the same with a great white. They eat things as big as us every day. Why shouldn't they come and bite us?
Rodney fights back and gouges the shark's eyes. The shark lets him go. And grabs the speared fish. The other end of the line is attached to Rodney's belt. The shark pulls him down deep. When the line breaks, Rodney rises to the surface, critically wounded.
Before I was attacked, I really knew nothing about sharks. And it was sort of out there. Sharks, devil, death, fear, hell.
The wounds were terrible. The shark punctured his left lung and diaphragm, stripped skin and muscle from his left side, and exposed several major organs.
It was when they showed me those pictures of my bite in the hospital, I realised that this is an unbelievable experience that I'd survived.
The attack is considered one of the most severe non-fatal shark attacks ever recorded. After a brush with death like that, some people might look for revenge. But not Rodney. Instead, he seeks a way to see these magnificent predators safely. He invents a shark cage and begins a life of discovering more about the great white shark.
Sharks aren't very high on people's lists of love affairs. Sometimes I wish I was bitten by a koala. It would have been a much easier life. Save the koalas. Everybody loves koalas. The sharks have been a difficult, difficult job.
Today, Rodney devotes his life to studying the animal that nearly killed him.
Coming here, right here. Nice bronzy colour, this one.
After 10 years of research, he believes they've uncovered a pattern. They see specific sharks arriving at the same time each year, with the same sharks they came with the year before. Resident scientist Dr. Rachel Robbins calls these shark associations clans.
Oh, on the bait, on the bait.
We're gathering an awful lot of data on the sharks while they're here, what they're doing here, how long they're here, the behaviour they have here. But it seems that the more questions we answer, the more questions stem off from those answers. Well, I wonder who yeah.
They want to find out how the sharks interact with each other.
The other one's behind him. Oh! Now this one's got a big fresh wound on the side of its head.
That's had a big bite to the head.
Possibly.
This young female may have had a run-in with a much bigger shark.
All right, fast.
They can't positively ID her as a shark they've seen before, so they need to take a closer look.
Oh, yeah.
On the bait.
Oh, beautiful.
Marks and scars sometimes change. But with good, clear shots, Rachel might find a match in their photo archive.
So this is the grab I've just captured of this female's caudal fin. Often they'll have some white markings, but she doesn't have anything like that. But she has cut the bottom of her fin off, and that looks like an old injury. And I know we do have some in our database which have amputations such as this. So I'll just look at those sharks that I've tagged as having amputations. That's not the same shark. That looks like it could be promising. So you've got the two white bits there. I reckon this is a match. This is a match. So this is Cuttail. She was here in May 2012. So it's been exactly 12 months since she was here, and now we've got her back, which is brilliant.
Cuttail is an immature female. She won't start to breed until she's at least 15 years old.
Oh, she's been in the wars, poor girl. You can see these other teeth marks over the top of her body, and these go all the way around under her chin. You can see that she's been bitten pretty much all the way around the front of her head.
The wound may be from a battle over hierarchy. The bigger the shark, the more dominant it is. If a smaller shark forgets its place, punishment can be brutal, even deadly.
And she has been extremely lucky to get away with her eye intact there. But it'll be really interesting if she hangs around for a couple of weeks, that we can document this healing process that occurs, because they have an amazing ability to heal from some of the most horrendous injuries, and they still survive and thrive.
Yeah, do you know, we see a lot of scrapes and bites and unknown markings on great white sharks. I know it's irresistible to imagine what could have caused those. We don't know all of the answers to all of those markings yet, and that's a real mystery to uncover what they are.
They don't know yet if Cuttail is part of a clan. Coming up, the team gets a visit from a supergiant great white.
That is our girl, that's Cowgirl.
And shark clans arrive at the Neptunes. Off the coast of Australia, a team of researchers tracks great white sharks to find out if particular sharks hang out together in clans.
When we're talking about clans, we're talking about an association of individual white sharks who we know have been seen together before. So they have to have been here for at least 2 years to be able to fit into that data set. And we look for animals that are around on the same days over multiple years.
If they can get more data, it would challenge the popular conception of the great white shark as a lone predator. On this trip, they hope one particular shark shows up. They call her Mrs. Moo.
Hey, Andrew, has there been any sign of Mrs. Moo?
Nothing, no.
She's an 18-foot supergiant female that they first saw in 2009. They recognize her by a white spot behind her eye and a distinct white patch on her tail. For several years running, she arrives at the Neptunes around the same date, and she's not alone. She shows up with 3 other giant females: Jumbo, Rhea, and Payette. Same place, same time, same sharks. The foxes call them the Supergiant Clan.
We don't know whether these animals travel together when they leave the Neptunes, but we do know that while they're here, they seem to have an association with each other, possibly even a memory that they were here together last year and they recognise that individual.
It's unknown how the sharks might recognize each other, but the Fox team uses visual markers, like the tail. Each one is different. This is Chef, named because someone thought his tail marking looked like a chef in a hat with a tray. This looks like a question mark, so they named the shark Enigma.
There's winter sharks, there's summer sharks, there's groups of sharks, there's big females, there's little ones, there's Elvis the jumper, there's all sorts of ones. And they really, you feel like they're a family of sharks.
To sort out Rodney's family of sharks, they pay attention to who arrives when throughout the year.
Coming back under the boat here in front of us. How many sharks? No, it just turned really quick.
They try to tag as many as they can. They look for any coloration or scars that can positively identify each of the sharks.
That is our girl, that's Cowgirl.
Cowgirl, a 16-foot female with a mark on her dorsal fin that looks like the head and horns of a steer. Bentley, a 14-foot male.
Good spotting.
Fast! Whoa, he's really fast, that one.
He's coming in now.
Oh, we think it's blotchy.
Yeah, we've called her blotchy because she's got lots of speckles.
She's got a black scar on her cheek here. And she's also got some more fresher scuffs, but you can see the white on this side.
At 15 feet long, Blotchy weighs well over a ton.
So I've met Blotchy before. She was a shark that was here last year, is that right?
Yeah, she's that big female, close to maturity. And I reckon she's prime for breeding soon. She'd be up there towards 5 metres. There we go.
Her scars could be a sign that she's already mated. Males use their teeth to hold on.
But she's definitely swift. Very swift.
The breeding females are the sharks they're most interested in. There are many unknowns about great white breeding habits and how clan relationships could be a factor.
This shark is fast, aggressive, but she's serious, possibly quite hungry. There's no doubt that this isn't one shark I would ever attempt to swim with.
There are over 500 named individuals in the Fox team's database. They have hundreds of thousands of images that catalog which particular great whites come to the Neptune Islands and when. It's the largest photo archive of individual great white sharks in the world.
The keystone data we're gathering is the photo ID database. So every shark that comes through the area here, we try and photograph. This we've been doing since the year 2000. This is building up a really great picture of each individual shark, not just in terms of the years that they're here, but to the days that each of those sharks is here.
Each shark has their own approximate day of the year to show up at the Neptunes. Other individuals in their clan share the same arrival time.
Okay, he's turning back on the bait. Pull him in slowly. Slowly.
Proving that these clans stay together when they leave would rewrite the books on great white behavior.
We are finding these clan relationships between different sexes and sometimes even different size sharks. What is significant is at the same time each year we're finding a real correlations between individuals that tend to want to do the same thing at the same time at the same place.
Does this clan association extend to breeding habits? Mrs. Moo shows up with her clan looking pregnant in 2010. Gestation is 18 months. 2012, the clan doesn't show up at all. Maybe they went somewhere else to have their pups. The team is hoping they show up this year so they can tag them. They don't have any tags in mature females, and it could lead them to the first glimpse of great white's mating.
We're looking at such a tiny little snapshot of their life. What happens when they leave here? Where do they go? Do they hang out at other areas for long periods of time the way they do here?
Rachel believes the 4 females in the supergiant clan may be on the same 4-year cycle of breeding and visiting the Neptune Islands. In that case, they would skip every 4th year to deliver pups. The clan didn't show up last year. Were they together at an unknown shark nursery?
We got us. Spotters, yeah.
5 meters. Okay, he's coming straight out at about 4 meters away. 3, 2, 1.
Rachel needs Mrs. Moo and the rest of the supergiant clan to return and lead them to a shark mating ground. In the waters off the coast of Australia, the Fox research team looks for a clan of supergiant great whites that seem to show up at the Neptune Islands at the same time each year. There's a lot of sharks here. They need a lot of eyes.
Some of our guests are going to get in and have their first view of great white sharks as they swim past.
Rodney creates the perfect union of science and ecotourism. Divers come from all over the world to have close encounters with great whites. They help identify sharks, take pictures of new sharks for the database, and sort out possible clan alliances.
I can't wait to see her face when she comes out of the water.
What's cage rage?
Cage rage is where somebody can only see the shark and they come racing, fumbling through, pushing everybody out of the road. So just keeping your body. Hey, we go! Hey.
The contributions of thousands of tourist divers help the researchers ID other clans. In addition to Mrs. Moo's supergiant clan, there's another they call the Cowgirl clan. Buffy, Anika, and Cowgirl.
He's on it, he's on it.
That clan might be with the sharks that circle the boat now.
Hey, it's going to be on now. All right.
This is going to be good, this is going to be good.
He's only 3 times the size of you, and don't worry, they like the pretty ones.
Which where the bait is, that's where the sharks will go to.
Yeah.
And as long as you've got your feet hooked under the bar at the bottom of the cage, you'll be nice and stable.
Here he is now. Oh, look at that one. Wow. Mulga, a big one.
See sharks.
I just can't get over the excitement people get from having an eye-to-eye view and seeing the shark. We've had people in our cages quite often say, oh, they're really beautiful, I'd like to go out and hug one. You know, which is, we don't actually encourage that at all.
Rodney hopes the divers become not only research assistants, but shark ambassadors, and contribute to a new appreciation for a vulnerable species.
Hey, how was that?
Amazing! Oh, there's 2 smaller ones and 1 bigger one down there. And it's just amazing. You're just looking the whole time and all of a sudden they come out of nowhere and it's just awesome.
Shark comes in, goes for the bait, turns sideways. And I'm like, yeah. The tail came banging in the side. You know, kind of caught me right on the edge of the arm. Once they hit the cage, they're all back here.
For these novice researchers, Dive 1 is about teeth and adrenaline. But by Dive 2, they need to pay attention to details.
Okay, guys, so you've been in the cage once. You've got to get over that novelty factor of seeing a shark. Now you've actually really got to look at them and see them as individuals. So I need you to have a look for different markings. So Cowgirl's got a really beautiful white mark both sides of her dorsal fin. And Bentley's got a nice bent over fin. Now we want to look as well for some of the other clan members. So we want to look for Buffy. Buffy's got an old tag. She's a really big female. And also, of course, look for the sex. So how you tell male from female is just behind the ventral fins. The male will have 2 long projections, which are called claspers, and the females have nothing. They just have the fins. So have a really good look out for all these little markings so that we can tell all the individuals apart.
It's coming in on the left. He's about 2 metres away. Yep, turning.
You want to hurry it up, but Bentley's waiting for you right now.
The team is hoping to gather information that may lead them to learn where the largest sharks disappear to when they leave the Neptunes.
The big supergiant females, they're mature. We only see them around the seal colonies here at the Neptune Islands for a week or 2 at a time. But we're starting to get an idea that they live out in the pelagic zone, in the darkness and in the abyss. We only catch a glimpse of them here at the seal colonies. With great white sharks, over 5 metres, are sometimes only barely mature, and they need to be 15 or 20 years old at least to get to that age. Recent evidence has found that some of the great white sharks are living for many decades, possibly even as long as we do.
Yeah, pull. Oh! This one's a brand new female that turned up last trip. She was all over our cage.
A lot of big sharks come in for the bait. Mrs. Moo and her clan could be here too, but they might hang back. The older and wiser sharks tend to be more cautious. Maybe part of the reason they managed to survive so long. It's also why it's so hard to get a tag into these big girls.
Do you reckon you got any good profile ID shots?
We saw the 3 that you were talking about.
Right.
Buffy and Cowgirl and Bentley. Nice, big, long, graceful swing bys. I got excited to see that one. I'm like, I think that's that. So I'm trying to get a picture of it so I can go back on the top and find out if I was right or if I was wrong. And it's kind of like shark bingo, you know?
That's right.
Which one did I get? You know?
Hey, Jen, did you see Mrs. Moo?
No, we didn't see her on that day.
Oh, well.
Each clan is a group of individuals that are usually seen here together. But to find out if they stay together when they leave, they have to tag them.
Yeah, well, we like to tag the sharks when they just cruise by the platform.
Do it.
It doesn't even affect them at all. They don't notice it.
That's perfect. Yay! Yeah, we got that one, went right in.
The Fox team uses 2 kinds of tags, satellite and acoustic. The acoustic tags are much smaller, much cheaper, and last a lot longer, up to 18 months.
This tag here is going to receive on all of our receivers around the coastal islands we have here and right here at the Neptune. So we'll be able to tell when that shark's here and when it's not, and he'll email us and let us know.
Acoustic tags work with a system of anchored listening buoys all along the Australian coast. The buoys detect any shark with a tag that comes within a quarter mile.
Look at that dorsal fin.
That's Bentley, and he's tagged as well.
So when Bentley comes close to a buoy, the system lets the foxes know just where he is.
Oh, that's Cowgirl. So hopefully we'll be able to get a tag in her. And that'll make all of the sharks that we've got currently here today will all be tagged.
Cowgirl and her clanmates aren't big enough to breed yet. They typically arrive just before Mrs. Moo.
Oh, right out there.
And probably take off as soon as the bigger females get here. Cowgirl finally comes close enough and gets a satellite tag. Fox satellite tags show just how far some sharks migrate from the Neptunes. They have location data from over 100 great whites, including these 2 immature females. They swim thousands of miles west, then north along the coast of Western Australia. A male shark went the other way, southeast to the coast of Tasmania. This is the kind of data they want from Mrs. Moo. If they tag her, the payoff would be tremendous. She could lead them to her clan's mating ground. The Fox research team is on the lookout for a supergiant great white shark, a breeding female they call Mrs. Moo. Year after year, she arrives at the Neptune Islands with her clan of 3 other giant breeding females, all 18-footers. Is it just a coincidence, or do they travel together? Could they be said to know each other? If they show up again this year, The Fox team hopes to tag Mrs. Moo and find out where she goes.
There's another one behind her.
A new shark shows up, bigger than the rest. It looks like Mrs. Moo.
That's a female. That looks like a pretty big shark.
Yeah, well, right now we've got, it looks like a big female shark just out the back, not coming close. We're trying to lure her in a bit closer.
And if we can get a satellite tag into her, we've got a fair idea where she's going to go maybe to have her babies, and that's something that nobody knows where they go.
If they could discover the place where great whites pup, it would help develop ways to protect the small sharks. Rachel scours the photos from the day of shooting and finds the confirmation she was looking for.
Do you know who the big girl is in the presence of greatness? Do you know who it is? Mrs. Moo. Mrs. Moo? Mrs. Moo.
Oh, Mrs. Moo. Look, she ticks all the boxes. She's in the clan. She's a super giant.
Yeah, she's a 3-year return visitor.
She's my favorite. Yeah.
Just let it sit for a sec.
Mrs. Moo is here. The rest of her clanmates may be staying just out of sight.
Watch out underneath you guys.
Mrs. Moo and the Supergiant clan were one of the earliest the Fox team identified, followed by Cowgirl clan. But there are more, an all-male clan called the Summer Boys. They've identified dozens of clans so far, generally made up of 2 to 5 sharks. Different clans show up at different times of the year. What happens when they leave is the mystery this team is trying to solve.
We can look at site fidelity patterns. We can look at residency, annual return. We can look at which sharks seem to come here at the same time. Not necessarily that they come here together, but they are here together year in, year out, over multiple years.
Watch out underneath you guys.
The team takes pictures of as many sharks as they can to try to identify more clans.
So at the moment, we've got both Cowgirl and Buffy, who are fitting into the same clan. They are here now together. They were here last year together. And so we're getting a really great tree of these sharks that all hang out together.
Great whites are active around the clock. When the sun goes down, they go into hunting mode. The research team wants to find out how this affects their interaction. Bentley comes in. Then Cowgirl. Her clanmate Buffy is close behind. They don't see Anika. She may be just out of sight.
It's unusual for them to come in at night so close and circle around at close range like that. And I think actually the full moon out tonight is what's fired the sharks up. They're active. They're hunting.
They circle the cage, but something's not right.
Oh, the fin just turned.
I knew there was a bigger shark around because Cowgirl came down to the ocean floor.
The bigger shark may be a supergiant. It could be Mrs. Moo, out in the dark, spooking the cowgirls.
They don't like it at the surface when there's a bigger one below them. In those dark conditions, they can't see him coming to the last minute.
With luck, in the morning they'll catch Mrs. Moo at the boat and tag her. The Fox research team has tagged over 100 sharks that come to the Neptune Islands. But so far, they haven't been able to put one in a breeding female. That's the goal for this trip. They'd also like to know how stable the clan relationships are. Do they travel together all year or only meet up in Neptunes? No one knows for sure. Only more tagging can tell them. Bentley, Cowgirl, and Buffy all showed up on schedule. They see Mrs. Moo, but they need to get her close enough to the boat to tag her. And time is running out.
All stations, good morning. This is the Portland VMR Squeak with the latest coastal waters forecast for South Australia.
17 miles off the coast of Australia, the Fox research team readies their final day of tag.
Up the left, 10 o'clock.
The last chance to tag Mrs. Moo on this trip. They have to lure her close to the boat lot of sharks respond to the bait.
Is it Kiwi? Let me get the receiver.
That's probably IMAX, yep.
That is, yeah, look at the caudal.
Yeah,
Ooh, IMAX, Mulga and Kiwi. Super class.
18.
We now have 2 sharks, Kiwi and Mulga. They're in the same clan. And Mulga and Kiwi have been together here at the same time for the last 4 years now.
With the 15-foot female IMAX, the North Winter clan is complete. There are as many as a dozen great whites around the boat. If Mrs. Moo is among them, the challenge will be to isolate her with precision baiting, lure her close, and hit her with the tag.
This shark is one of the most exciting we have because not only is she a super giant, which are really rare in themselves, but we also have a long-term, multiple-year history of this girl. So we had her from 2009, 2010, 2011. She looked pregnant in 2011, and then she was gone last year. So now that she's turned up again, to be able to track where she's going once she leaves here would be magnificent.
Can anybody out there see her?
A huge female passes the stern, but she already has an acoustic tag. Not Mrs. Moo.
Quite friendly.
Who's that?
Come on, straight up, straight up.
Ooh!
Then an even bigger shark.
Sunlight tag, sunlight tag, sunlight tag.
Alright, turn. Don't lose your mate. It's a big girl. Mrs. Moo.
Mrs. Moo is almost 18 feet long, a rare, supergiant breeding female. One of only 8 that come to the Neptune Islands. A true queen of the great whites.
Do it, do it.
That's it, right hand side, center's awesome.
Did it.
That's great. Well done, mate. That's good.
Good
Lead it.
work.
Do it, do it, do it. Do it. Doesn't get any better than that. Do it.
So in about 180 days, that tag will detach from her and pop to the surface, upload all its data, and we'll be able to follow exactly where she's been since today.
That's great.
It's amazing.
The team returns to port and waits to hear from Mrs. Moo. 180 days, no signal from the tag. Then 280 days. Still nothing from Mrs. Moo. 2014, 1 year after she was tagged, Andrew returns to the Neptune Islands and sees Mrs. Moo with her clanmate, Jumbo.
As soon as we got down there, I saw a big shark coming up off the bottom. Straight away I saw the white patches behind her eye and knew it was Mrs. Moo. I looked straight down on her back, next to her dorsal fin. I couldn't believe the satellite tag is still attached to her on her back. If we can get another satellite tag into her as well and get this one off, I reckon the next one will show where she has her pups.
Mrs. Moo stays around for several days, but only comes close to the stern once. Andrew tries to remove her tag.
Got it, man.
Touched it. Right.
But she's too quick.
You could have done it then.
She takes her tag and all the precious data with her. The Foxes may get another chance next year to find out her great white shark's secrets. 12 years ago, no one knew anything about shark clans. Today, the Fox team has identified dozens of distinct clans, and there may be more. The questions are intriguing. Why do the clans exist? Do all great whites travel in a clan? How long do these alliances last? No one knows, yet. But the Foxes and the clans will be back next year.
In February each year. And right now, they're at their plump, fattest best. And great white sharks know all about this, and they come around for these next several months. And this is where we see the super giants, the big females, come in here to fatten up before they do these incredible journeys around Australia.
Rodney Fox is on a research mission with his marine biologist son, Andrew. a leading authority on the great white shark. They want to find out if sharks really are lone hunters, or if they travel in stable groups of shark alliances called clans.
We come down here to the Neptune so often, particularly at this time of the year, you can expect sharks immediately.
Yeah, he's straight up, clear down deep again.
To understand shark relationships, the first step is to identify individuals.
Pull it in a meter. Oh, got it. Perfect. There's another one behind us.
They use bait to position the sharks for the pictures.
Nice size. You got a good call. Look at him up there. 3.7 meters.
Each photograph adds to the Fox's catalog of over 1,000 individual great white sharks.
Coming here,
We're coming in straight ahead. 12 o'clock.
South Australia, a spearfishing competition. Rodney, a newly married insurance salesman from Adelaide, defends his state championship title. Engrossed in his hunt, he doesn't see the great white shark hunting him. The shark hits him like a truck.
You wouldn't want to stand in front of a bulldozer when it's heading towards you, would you? And it's the same with a great white. They eat things as big as us every day. Why shouldn't they come and bite us?
Rodney fights back and gouges the shark's eyes. The shark lets him go and grabs the speared fish. The other end of the line is attached to Rodney's belt. The shark pulls him down deep. When the line breaks, Rodney rises to the surface, critically wounded. In a remote cluster of islands off the coast of Australia, great white sharks are gathering.
Off the left, 10 o'clock.
Hungry males, supergiants, massive pregnant females.
Coming in on the left. He's about 2 meters away. Got it, man.
A team of researchers is uncovering new insights into great white behavior.
Yeah, pull.
Oh, this one's a brand new female that turned up last trip. She was all over our cage.
They're led by one shark expert
3.7 meters.
that barely survived a brutal shark attack.
They eat things as big as us every day. Why shouldn't they come and bite us?
They're proving that these lone hunters may be banding together into killer families known as shark clans. "17 miles off the coast of South Australia, the Neptune Islands. They are rocky and uninhabited.
This is actually the best restaurant for great whites in the southern hemisphere.
Hundreds of sharks gather here every year for a very good reason.
In this little bay, which is protected, you'll get thousands of baby sea lions, all born in January.
Before I was attacked, I really knew nothing about sharks. And it was sort of out there. Sharks, devil, death, fear, hell.
The wounds were terrible. The shark punctured his left lung and diaphragm, stripped skin and muscle from his left side, and exposed several major organs.
It was when they showed me those pictures of my bite in the hospital, I realized that this is an unbelievable experience that I'd survived.
The attack is considered one of the most severe non-fatal shark attacks ever recorded. After a brush with death like that, some people might look for revenge. But not Rodney. Instead, he seeks a way to see these magnificent predators safely. He invents a shark cage and begins a life of discovering more about the great white shark.
Sharks aren't very high on people's lists of love affairs. Sometimes I wish I was bitten by a koala. It would have been a much easier life. Save the koalas. Everybody loves koalas. The sharks have been a difficult, difficult job.
Today, Rodney DeVoe.
Craig's going to use this big heavy bait to bring the sharks in close.
there are no hooks in the bait. The crew has to be quick.
Okay, he's turned on it. He's on it, he's on it.
Too slow and they lose the bait. They don't want the sharks to get a free lunch.
Here he's coming. Pull, pull, pull. Yeah, pull it in, pull it down.
Do it right, and the sharks come in for their close-up. The pictures document when each shark arrives.
I did. Hopefully that'll be clear enough to see what shark that is.
Some are really bumbling around quiet and slow. Some are fast and furious. Some are very shy and stay well back. But they're just like humans, all different shapes, sizes and personalities.
But whatever their personality, Rodney knows firsthand they can be terrifying. His first encounter with a great white was so horrific, it was the subject of one of the first shark movies ever made.